What's up? This is Wagner here with a quick little video for instructions on checkpoint 4 and then one example for checkpoint 4. So let's bada bing. Oh, actually, we don't want to do that yet, but I'm excited because I could do the new shortcut now to go between those things. Anyways, let's go over checkpoint 4. So this checkpoint is about bond length, bond energy, and chemical potential energy graphs, CPEGs. Here's the instruction slide, and I'm not going to just read straight from this. That would be kind of silly. But this slide pretty much says all the stuff that I'm going to say. So here on slide 3, we are asking you to think about and essentially remember the areas of attraction, repulsion, and stability when atoms are coming together to form a bond. And your job will be to click and drag, like if you think A is showing strong repulsion, you would do that. That is not necessarily saying that's the answer, but that's just what you would do. On slide 4, there's multiple things you have to do. There's 2 questions where you will need to highlight your answer based on what you see on the curves. And then we actually want you to just record the bond length and bond energy. Hopefully from today's puzzle, you will know how to do that. On slides 5 and 6, we are asking you to make your own curve, your own graph. And so there are specific instructions in here, and I'll come back and go over these later because I'm going to do an example. And then slides 7 and 8 just have different questions of interpreting these graphs. So it's really, we're just trying to make sure that you are going to be solid on reading these graphs, creating these graphs, and knowing what they're supposed to tell us and what they are modeling themselves. So that is that. When you're done, make sure you submit the checkpoint. And y'all, this is just a reminder, make sure you're filling out your warm-ups and exit tickets because it's really been, like, I'm sadly disappointed in the progress we have so far. People have not been doing them. It's like free points, y'all. So yeah. Anyways, let's do one example. I am going to do, let's see, we've got right here, we've got CH. I'm going to do that as my example. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to write that information down on my paper so that I don't forget it. So colored pencils can be nice, y'all. It is really nice to do things with different colors when you're modeling. It just makes it easier to emphasize certain things. So I'm doing a CH bond, and I'm going to write it out in full once, bond energy and bond length, but you might see me using an abbreviation like BE or BL. And this isn't super necessary, but I just like to have my stuff down in a good spot next to where I'll be making my graph. Okay, cool. So another thing that will definitely help is a ruler. And I'm being a little risky here because I'm drawing this in pen, but hopefully I don't screw up too much. I'm just making my x-axis and then my y-axis. So I've got the beginnings of my graph there. And the slide asks us to make a graph by hand with an x and y axis and label them. So I'm pretty certain that the x-axis is bond length and the y-axis is bond energy. I don't really write sideways like this very often. That's not bad. And it's smart to include the units as well. And so now we're doing not bad. We're in pretty good shape here. Because I used a ruler, I think it's pretty nice to put it up to this bad boy and to say, okay, well, let's say like we'll say 2 inches, 100 picometers. And obviously, if you have graph paper, this might be easier. Notice that I probably could have written my units a little bit further out, but that's okay. So then I made the y-axis a little bit smaller of a scale, and I'll get this zoomed in when we have a little bit more. So this would be 100, 200, 300, 400. Of course, when we go below 0, we become negative. And okay, so let's get zoomed in a little bit. Now, if I need to graph my bond length and my bond energy, well, bond length is my x-axis, so just past 100 is going to be 109. And just underneath, negative 400 will be negative 413. So what you can do is you can kind of draw like a really light dotted line. In fact, you might not be able to see that in the recording. You can barely see it. And that's totally okay. That's what we want. We want to barely see it. And boom. So that's certainly not perfect, but that's in a pretty good spot. And then now, because we're only giving you one data point, you really just have to do your best to get this curve sketched out. And we should know by now, hopefully, that our bond length and bond energy point is the lowest point on the curve, that it goes up quite rapidly to the left, and that it has like a slower build going to the right. And it doesn't quite pass 0 because eventually they are just too far apart from each other. So we're not quite done yet because we still have a couple things that it's asking us to do. It wants us to label bond length and bond energy. So there's a couple different ways you could do that. The way that I will do that, like this. And I like to use, once again, I like to add some color. I think it just makes it a little bit easier to read the models. And notice that I still list the bond energy as positive because this is the amount of energy to break the bond. And then the final thing is to indicate regions of attraction, stability, and repulsion. Now, I'm not actually going to show you guys this part because I'm really interested to see how you do that, how you give an attempt at showing which part of this graph, which part of this curve is attraction, which part is stability, and which part is repulsion. Like where are those things happening? So understandable if you end up struggling on that part, but I really think that it's important for you all to try your own method of showing us where there's attraction, where there's stability, and where there's repulsion. So that was instructions and one example. I hope this has been useful. Of course, if you still have questions, do not hesitate to reach out. You have the emails for Dr. D and myself. They're on the instruction slide. They're everywhere.